Hey guys, this is a video on NVIDIA-Certified Associate Generative AI LLMs live bootcamp session. So folks, this is a paid course that we have got with Manifold AI Learning. Now, this particular video takes you through the first class of this live bootcamp. Now, this first class is provided for free so that you can actually decide whether my way of teaching is of interest to you, is in alignment with your learning goals. Now, even though it's a free, I want to ensure that you get the maximum benefit of this video. So watch till the end because in this video, we have actually covered the trustworthy AI, which covers actually 10% of the examination weightage. That means by watching this single video and by completing all the steps that is mentioned in this video, you'll be able to master the 10% for your examination in a very simple manner. We have tried to break down, and since it's a live boot camp, you might see me asking the questions. So ensure that you enjoy it, and whenever I ask the question, ensure that you post your answers in the comment section so that you'll have a live boot camp experience as well. So if you like my way of teaching, check out the link in the description and enroll with us. So enjoy the learning. I'll see you next time. Hey everyone, welcome back to your learning journey team. So team, welcome to this live bootcamp on NVIDIA Certified Associate Generative AI LLMs. That is, the examination code is NCA-GENL. So this is the certification bootcamp, and I welcome each of you on behalf of Manifold AI Learning to this live bootcamp, folks. So my name is Nachiket Murthy, and I'll be your instructor throughout this bootcamp. Let me be very honest with you. I appreciate each of you for joining in to this live bootcamp. Now, the folks who have joined with us today, that is as part of this bootcamp, I can say one thing. You guys are all committed. You want to you don't want to just learn something, you want to achieve it. So that's the reason that you're here. So thank you so much for trusting us, trusting Manifold AI Learning. And we are glad that we've got an opportunity serve you guys, and we'll do our best, provide you a better learning experience, and also ensure that you get all the tools, all the support that you need from us in clearing your NVIDIA Certified Associate Generative AI LLM. Okay, guys. So I hope my voice is audible. So folks, can you just confirm whether you can hear my voice and see my screen too? So please let me know in the chat window. Okay, so let me start beginning this session with the general guidelines. Okay, let me just start defining some of the general guidelines that would help you to get the context. You might have observed by default, the learners are on mute. That means you're on mute by default. So in case as we progress in the session, okay, if you have got any question, please feel free to post it in the chat window. The reason that you are by mute by default is like, since it's a bootcamp, which is a certification bootcamp, I want to ensure that like every learner will be able to focus on the topics that we'll be covering. Now, that doesn't mean that I'll not be answering the questions. So I'll be taking your questions through the chat window. Now, in case if you want to speak and if it's something related to what we being covered and what if it feels like, okay, that is part of our curriculum, please don't hesitate. Raise your virtual Zoom hand. In case if you want to speak, I can unmute you as well. So my recommendation is like, let's avoid the discussion during the bootcamp learning session. So if it is out of topic, so that every learner can get the best or productive learning experience. Okay. If you've got any questions which is outside the context of our examination preparation, I'll be here on the same call. Once our scheduled time is over, I'll be here on the same call. We can further discuss. So is everyone okay with this guideline? So if you feel like we are okay, please confirm by typing in okay in the chat window. Okay, Chandrasekhar. Perfect. Lokesh, Sriram. Okay. Thank you, Rabi. Great. Okay. So thank you so much, team. Now let's have a look into some of the quick ground rules that you need to follow. Okay. So as we progress in the learning journey, you might observe we'll be focusing on the examination based topic. Now, in most of the cases, we'll be covering that depth in which, like, we'll be going into the depth that is as per the expectation of the examination. But we'll also ensure that we'll build the context so that you as a learner can get the necessary background about it. Now, in case if you want to deep dive or if you need more information, which is not part of our curriculum, and if you want to explore more, feel free to let me know. I'll do my best to provide all the reference resources which will help you maybe to explore further. And to ensure that, even though it's a boot camp, we'll be covering the topics in a sequential manner, which means that you'll be progressing in a step-by-step approach so that you have a necessary background. You have you'll have an information as why we are doing, and then we learn what we are going to do. Okay, so that you as a learner will be able to progress in a step-by-step manner. So that's the overall ground rules of this bootcamp. Now, as I mentioned, feel free to let me know in the chat window, and I'll do my best to answer any of the queries that you might have while explaining the topic too. So now that this is clear, so let's start with very basics about it. So first of all, that's the what exactly is this examination? Okay. So Aziz says cannot hear you. Okay, just 1 second, guys. So Faizan, I see, have you logged in with 2 devices? I'm just curious. It shows you have logged in with 2 devices, but I mean, I'm seeing two links. Like just for the benefit, I'm sharing one link again over here in the chat window. Maybe you can just click on that link and try rejoining once. Just check once, Faizan, because others can hear. Maybe disconnect and see because others do not have the issue. I'll come back in case if you still need any help, Faizan. Okay, so let's have a look into this examination. So what exactly is this examination is all about? So this examination, the certificate level is an associate certificate level. So you can expect the questions of about easy to intermediate level. So if we compare it to other examination, we can say that easy to intermediate level examination or intermediate level questions that you can expect in this examination. And let's focus on the important key details, which is very important for you to observe. And this is essential for your efficient preparation as well. So first and foremost, observe the duration. The duration, it says just 1 hour. The reason that I'm calling it as just 1 hour, because if you take a look into the number of questions, the total number of questions that you're expected to answer in 60 minutes is actually 50 questions. That means you'll have little over 1 minute to answer each and every question. Okay, that's one key thing that we need to remember. And the overall subject that would be covered in this examination is generative AI and large language model. That's the, I'll say, broad way to describe the contents of this examination. And the price of this examination, if you like, when you register in the NVIDIA portal, it will be $135. Now, what does it mean for the examination preparation? So it means that one key thing that you need to remember when you're preparing for this examination is you have to answer as many questions as possible in short possible time. And this is especially helpful whenever you're trying to answer the direct ones. Like to give you an example, there will be a question that says as, what is tensor RT? Now, when the question is what is tensor RT, then if you are aware of the definition, then it is much easier for you to just go ahead and answer within just few seconds instead of just thinking or going through the questions over there. Okay, that's one of the key thing that you need to remember, guys. Okay, so just a second. Okay, so answer as many questions as possible in the short possible time, especially the direct ones. And as I mentioned, you have to be prepared on the easy and yet important topics so that you can increase the scoring. And also, please follow the instruction that I'll be giving you in each and every session so that you'll get the maximum benefit in the preparation. And there are some dry topics. So when I say dry topics, these are all the topics which are like the definition or knowing what. Okay. Now, even though it's boring, let me remind you, those are all the easy scoring ones. So ensure that you revise it daily. Now, the easy way to success is sharing your notes with each other. So I'm sure everyone have got the link to the WhatsApp group. So if you do not have the WhatsApp group, please don't worry. So I'll be sharing the link again. If any one of you have not joined, can join the WhatsApp group of this cohort so that you can use that WhatsApp group to get the batch updates and also share the notes with each other and compile it. So when 5 learners, like we've got around close to 10 learners here, I can see right now. So if each of you start preparing each notes and start compiling together, I'll say that is the amazing resource that you have with you already. Okay, so these are the ways in which that will increase your odds of success. And let me remind you guys, it's a very easy. Like if you follow this instruction, you can easily clear this NVIDIA certification examination. Now, let's have a look into the study guide and understand what are the core topics that is involved over here in this examination. Okay, so this is the study guide. So, and don't worry, I'll be sharing you this PPT as well. So all the resources that I'll be using in the class will also be made available to you in the learning portal. So this is the study guide, which has been released by NVIDIA. Now let's have a look into the study guide. Basically talks about each topic and its respective weightage. And they've also described the resources that you can refer additionally from the NVIDIA side. Okay. And there's a question over here from Sumita. The question is there any negative marking? No, there's no negative marking. Okay. At least it's not covered in any of the documentation. So it is safe to assume that there's no negative marking. Okay. Now, here it talks about the overall weightage. Now, the expectation, okay, like they are expecting that, like when you are working as a generative AI LLM associate developer, so if you understand what will be the responsibility, that will give you some more perspective as what are the contents that would be covered in the examination. So collaborate with AI development team to design code, test, debug, and document the programming application, perform some kind of a system analysis to ensure that system and software meets the required specification, aid in integrating the new AI models into existing system or creating new ones as required, assist in assessment and resolution of application and system performance issue, and stay and updated on new AI models and the developments that is happening in the large language model space, contribute to the production of technical documents and manual, conduct software programming, documentation development under the direction of senior staff, perform prompt engineering, assist in model selection, define, curate, label, and annotate the dataset for LLM, experiment with A/B testing, evaluating the prompts, evaluating the models, and producing proof of concept. So these are the job responsibilities of this AI developer, like what we can say, the AI large language model associate developer. So our learning journey and our preparation will be around these topics so that if you're someone who is working as a LLM associate developer, be able to work in an effective manner. So that's how the examination is designed, and that's how we'll be covering as we progress in the learning journey as well. Okay, they have defined some recommended qualification and experience. They say that, okay, knowledge of Python, C, and AI framework. But for the examination, so the questions are multiple choice in nature. So it can be single answer, multiple choice, or it can be multiple correct answer. Is a multiple choice question. So the two types of question that you would experience in this examination. And it will be the multiple choice only. You'll not be expected to write something or run a particular lab over there. Okay, so that's the basic idea about this examination. Is everyone with me so far? So if yes, please hit thumbs up in the chat to confirm that you are with me. Okay, or you can type in okay as well. I don't think so that emoji is enabled. Okay, thank you, Mio. Okay, thank you, Davis. Okay, next question is, will they tell you how many answers will be selected? In some cases, yes. In some cases, they'll not tell. So if it is a multiple choice, multiple choice question, they'll say select the ones which are correct. Okay, they'll not say, in most of the time, they'll not say explicitly as two are correct or three are correct. They'll just say select the right answer. Okay, so perfect, guys. Thank you, Sumita. All right. So now that this is clear, let's have a look into the high level details about each and every domain or the topic that we have got. So if you have been following along like through the social media channels with Manifold AI Learning, I'm sure you might have seen this multiple times. So I'll just give a very quick overview. Okay. So here under this course, core machine learning and AI knowledge, the total weightage is 30%. Okay. So here, even though they call it as core machine learning and AI knowledge, this covers, I can say most of it. It covers machine learning, the intuition of machine learning algorithm, evaluation of machine learning algorithm, working with deep learning, evaluation of deep learning, the key idea behind it, and how to work with text data, some of the techniques that you will do in working with the text data. So those are the key topics that are part of this core machine learning and AI knowledge. So I can say this is more like a general understanding about machine learning, deep learning, and how the various tools would come together or various techniques will come together in order to help us in analyzing the data set. So that's the key idea of this core machine learning and AI knowledge. And it also considers some basic idea about large language models as well. In our learning journey too, we'll be covering such that we'll be first take up a concept of large language model. I'll give you a brief about what is large language model. We'll understand the same and the concept of machine learning, deep learning, and the ways in which we try to build the intuition behind this machine learning and deep learning algorithm. So I'll be providing you as we progress in the learning journey so that you'll have an intuition and you'll be able to confidently answer the questions whenever it appears in your examination. Okay, so this is about the core machine learning and AI knowledge. Next, moving on, data analysis. I can say this is one of the easy scoring module that we have got. That's the data analysis. So this involves inspecting, cleaning, transforming. What are the various ways in which we can analyze the data, and what are the metrics that we will be using it in order to just to check the validity of the data set. Okay, so this is about data analysis, and also one key aspect that we need to know is how NVIDIA Rapids Library can help us in performing the data analysis. This is we'll be having as we like we'll also have it as part of a learning journey, and we'll be progressing and we'll be learning as well. Then the third module is about experimentation. What are the ways in which we can experiment with various configuration of models? And we'll look into the ways in which we can fine tune the large language model, how we can compare the A/B testing, and how we can check how we can compare it, visualization techniques. Those are all the key concepts that are part of this experimentation. Here, we'll also talk about how we can compare the prompts as well. There are various techniques that we have got. We'll be learning as we progress in this experimentation topic. Then followed by software development, which has around 24% of weightage. So this involves a very high level. How does a RAG system is going? And you can say that the software development combines the concepts of what we have learned so far and this implementing it as a software. Here, it's also important that we understand some of the services and the tools that are available in NVIDIA as well. And we'll be looking at how those tools and services in the software development aspect and building the LLM as an application. Then lastly, we have a very small unit that is Trustworthy AI. So this involves describing the ethical principles of Trustworthy AI, what is Trustworthy AI, and how we can minimize the bias in AI system, and how to use this NVIDIA in improving the AI trustworthiness. Okay, so these are all the key topics that we have got inside this Trustworthy AI. All right. So now what are we going to do now? How are we going to target this learning? See, our intention, okay, our intention is to prepare in a most efficient manner, in a most effective way, so that you'll be confident right after this bootcamp, you should be confident in appearing for the examination. So how can we achieve it? Well, we'll be achieving it first by covering the easy topics and building the intuition and revising that topic daily. And then as we progress, we'll also learn and go deeper into the topic. So this will ensure that in the first few days, you will be covering most of the important concept or the intuition that you would require for the examination. You'll have most confidence from the syllabus, and then we will be mastering the lengthier or the more deeper concepts such as machine learning, deep learning, and building the intuition around it. Okay. So the first step that we are going to do is here in this, like here in this first step, so we are going to take up what we call it as the trustworthy AI topic. As I mentioned, it covers the 10% of the weightage. Okay. Now we'll be covering this in the first session itself so that by the end of this session, you will be covering this 10% of what is required for this examination preparation itself. Okay. And then in the second part, I'll also talk about what are the key assignments that you have to do in order to ensure that you master this topic. And then we'll take up the next unit, that is the data analysis. That is how our first session, that is this session agenda would look like. So that's how we'll be progressing, guys. So is this plan okay? So if yes, please confirm by typing in as yes in the chat window. Okay. Okay. So thank you, team, for confirmation. Sumita, Davis, Mio, Sriram. Okay. So thank you so much, guys. So now that this is clear about our first step, what we are going to do. So when we talk about this trustworthy AI, so it's important that you should understand what is this AI, because some of you might have some knowledge about AI and some of you might be new to this term of AI. So let's take up a sequential approach and let's start by understanding what is AI, or we also call it as the artificial intelligence. Now, when we talk about this artificial intelligence, see, the artificial intelligence, it refers to simulation of human intelligence in machine, which are programmed to think and learn like humans. They are the type of system which is capable of ability to think and ability learn from the given data set. And the best part, and the one more key thing that you need to remember when we talk about this artificial intelligence system is it can also have the ability to take an action. To give you an example, we can think about Alexa as an example of artificial intelligence system. Here, when you provide an input to an Alexa, let's say you will ask your Alexa switch on the light or switch off the light. When you specify an input for your Alexa or your smart device that you have got, it is able to process the input that you would provide, and it is also able to take the action, which is nothing but maybe switching on the light or switching off the light. So that's what we call it as an artificial intelligence system, which is capable to analyze and take the action. Now, this action part, to take it, it will make use of, maybe it can make use of the software API in order to get it. Okay, to get it can make use of the software API to call the other services, or it can make, if it is a maybe a robot, maybe it can go ahead and make use of its mechanical movements in order to take that certain action. But the key idea is, think of this AI as a system which is capable of analysis, okay, and take an action. That is what an AI system is all about. Okay. Now, here when we talk about this AI system, they can perform the task that typically require human intelligence, like for example, recognizing the speech, understanding the natural language. Now, when I say natural language is a language that we humans speak. That's what we refer to as natural language, and making the decision and solving the problem. So these are the tasks that an AI system can do. Now, these days, you're learning one more term that's called as, or you're coming across one more term that's called as generative AI. Now, what is this generative AI then? So generative AI is a subset. Okay, it's a subset of AI. So if I say this is my AI, I'm calling this generative AI as a subset of this AI. What it does, it focuses on creating new original content. Now, how does it create? Well, this is going to create the new original content by learning the patterns and structures from the existing data. This is a kind of a special system where you will go ahead and provide the pattern. And using such pattern, it will learn the representation. And then using this knowledge, it will go ahead and generate the new output, which resemble or extend the training data. So that's one of the key thing about this generative AI. So here, some of the key things, the important thing that you need to remember, I'm sure you might have used in your day-to-day life of using this chat GPT or the Gemini or similar AI, generative AI. The idea is this generative AI has been will learn the patterns from the data set that we provide. Now, once it has learned the pattern, if I go ahead and ask in any input or ask any question, this would go ahead and generate the response. So this is the overall idea. When it is generating the response, it will generate the response based on the patterns it has learned from a very large data set. And that's what the generative AI is. Now, how does it work? Well, it's a three-step approach. If I want to just simplify it, it's a three-step approach. First step is called as training. Okay. Now, this is the first step that's called as a training. Now, in this first step, we are going to make use of a very large data set. We'll make use of a very large data set, and we are going to send that very large data set into the models that we have got. And we call these models as a deep learning neural network or similar kind of architecture. We'll use some models and we will provide this large data set as an input. And these models will try to learn the underlying patterns and the structures. Okay, I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say I would go ahead and provide, let's say, 10 different documents that I've got or 10 different uh, corpus that I've got, maybe a paragraph. Now I'll provide the paragraph, 10 different paragraph about a certain topic. Maybe I'll give a topic on, let's say, diabetes. Okay, I'll provide 10 different paragraph about diabetes and I'll provide it as an input for this model. Now, the idea is the model is going to learn from these 10 different paragraphs to understand what exactly is this diabetes is, and it will try to understand the patterns that will be part of diabetes. Okay, so what it will do is when we provide this data set, it will try to analyze the data, understand the relationship between them, and the nuances that we have within the data. And this process is called as learning. Okay, this process is called learning. Now, once the learning has happened, based on what they have learned, the models produce new content that is similar to the training data. Now, if what it means is if I ask that learned model, that is once the learning is completed, if I send the input for my learned or this trained model, this can generate a new content based on the pattern that it has recognized. Like for example, if I ask the trained model to describe diabetes, it will go ahead and describe the diabetes in a new way based on the pattern that it has learned. That means it's like it has prepared. And when you ask, it's like the examination, it will try to answer based on its preparation. So that is how these large language models is do. Now, because of this reason, the large language models or let me come back to the use the same term that is a generative AI. Okay, so when I say large language model, so large language model is actually used in this generative AI. So we'll talk about this term at a later stage. So when I say large language model, this is the one that is powering this generative AI. So when we say large data set are fed into the model, since we are sending the large data set into the model and training it, we call this model as large language model. And we also use a certain technique as well. But the overall idea is LLM or a large language model is a trained model on a large data set. Now, because of its ability to generate the new content based on the data that it has seen, so this generative AI has variety of application. It's used in creative industries like generating art, music, writing, design. It's used in marketing and advertisement, like creating the personalized content, product description, and slogans. It's used in healthcare, that is in assisting with drug discovery, medical image analysis. It's used in software development, in especially in generating the code, providing the debugging assistance, and in the education domain, it's used in creating the personalized learning materials and tutoring. So this are all just a short list, I can say, but it can be used in every domain where we want to analyze the data and generate the new content based on the analysis that we have performed. Now, let's have a look into some of the popular example of these generative AI model. So if I want to define some of the popular examples of the generative AI model, I can say GPT-3 or GPT-4 or the latest version, any GPT. So it's one of the powerful language model which can generate the text in response to the prompt. Okay, that's one example of this generative AI model. And we have another popular example of generative AI model is DALL-E. So this is an image generation model which can create images from the textual description. Now, another example is Stable Diffusion. This is another image generation model known for its versatility and high quality output. So one thing is common across all these examples that you see right here is generation of the new content is common. So all these generative AI models that we have got, so it takes in the input or prompt. Okay, in most of the cases, it's actually text as an input, which we call it as prompt. And by considering or by taking this input, this would go ahead and generate the output. So when it is generating the output as per the data that I have provided. That's the overall idea about working with this generative AI models. Now, to get a complete foundation about this generative AI model, let's have a quick demo of this generative AI. And while having the demo, I'll explain some of the important terms that you need. Okay, so let's take up an OpenAI as one of the generative AI model. So I'll launch this ChatGPT. Okay, so I have launched a ChatGPT over here. Now, let's go ahead and experiment with ChatGPT, and I'll explain some of the intuition behind what is happening right now. First of all, when we open the ChatGPT, here, if I expand this ChatGPT, here it says ChatGPT for everyday task. So like what it means is whenever we select this ChatGPT in the backend, this basic version of ChatGPT has a model that is associated with it in the backend. And that model is the one that is going to help us in generating the response. So here we can call this ChatGPT that we have got as an application. And the model that is powering this ChatGPT application is a GPT model. Okay, the GPT is one of the type of a model that we have got. This is one of the model that is powering this ChatGPT application. Now let us understand what happens if I send in any input. Here it says message GPT, and I'm going to say explain generative AI. Now, when I ask a question as explain generative AI, so what system is doing is here in this case that ChatGPT is generating the response based on the input that I have specified. Okay, it is explaining for me directly. It describes about what is generative AI, the key concepts about this generative AI, the training data, applications. It's providing the complete details about what I have asked about the topic, that is the generative AI. Now, this input that I have just provided for this ChatGPT, we call it as prompt. So prompt is the instruction that we provide for the large language models. This model GPT is called as a LLM or a large language model. The input that we send to this large language model or this generative AI application is called as a prompt. Now, here, when I have mentioned as explain generative AI, it has generated the response in this manner. Now, observe closely and try to make out what would happen when I mention the input in a certain way. So I'm going to mention a few more details. to explain generative AI to a small kid who is 5 years old. Now, this time I have added some more information. Now, I have added the information by providing some context over here. I have mentioned as explain what is generative AI, just like you would explain to a small kid who is 5 years old. Now, when I've provided this context about explain generative AI to a 5-year-old kid, now if you look at the response, it has changed. Here it says, sure. Imagine you have a magic box that can make new things just by learning from the stuff you already have. So here's how it would work. The magic box looks at the many pictures of your favorite things like animals, toys, or even drawings. And after it learns, you can ask the magic box to make a picture or stories. It can make the picture of a funny looking animal or a bedtime story just for you. So you can clearly understand they have explained this generative AI from the context that we have mentioned. Now let me try out one more thing. I'm going to say explain generative AI in, let's say, in 20 words. Okay, I'll just see explain generative AI in 20 words. So when I ask this question as explain generative AI in 20 words, see, now the response from this large language model, that is a chat GPT, it has ensured that it is explaining the term of generative AI within 20 words. So what does it mean? And what is the key thing that you need to remember from this experimentation that we have just performed? The response from this generative AI is dependent on the prompt that we specify to this large language model, that is this generative AI. So depending on my prompt, the output is getting modified. If I provide more context, it will help me to generate the response which is in coherence, that is in alignment with what I mentioned in the context. And I can also provide additional information, let's say instruction as well, by providing some more information as explain it in 20 words. Or I can ask some few more things as well. Like for example, translate the below to French. So I can go ahead and provide the commands, and based on the command or the instruction that we provide, the output of this large language model, we can see right here as per the commands that we specify. So the key observation that you need to know right now, okay? The LLM is called as a large language model. Now this is powering the generative AI. ChatGPT is a generative AI application, which is powered by the large language model that's called as a GPT family. Now, the input that you specify to this LLM is called as a prompt. It's a set of instructions that we provide to this large language model so that we can get the response as per our expectation. Now, if we provide more context, if we modify this prompt, we can actually control how the output will be. And we have seen it in an example in our case as well. When I just mentioned general way about explain generative AI, we get the general definition. Now, when I ask with a context that says explain generative AI to a small kid who is 5 years old, so it considers this context and it is generating the response. Now, if you take a look at it, I've provided one more prompt which says as, hey, this is what you have to do, like maybe explain generative AI in 20 words. It generated in 20 words. So the key thing that you need to remember from the examination is what is prompt and why this prompt is very important. The key thing that why this prompt is very important, because using this prompt, we can actually control how the output from my model will be. So that's the core idea of this working with generative AI and basic of this prompt, okay, which is nothing but the input that we have got. Okay, so it can take the inputs in the format of text. And these days, okay, we have the models which can actually take in the image as well. Okay, we have the GPT and even the BERT. So they can also Gemini model that we have got from Google. So this can also take, okay, this can also take the input, which is in the format of the image as well, which is non-text in. Okay, so that's That's one more key thing that you need to remember when we are working. Okay. And yeah, the response from the generative AI model is based on the context, that the way in which that we have provided from the prompt. And for some, okay, now let's experiment one more thing. Okay, I'm going to ask about, let's say, who won recent cricket World Cup. So when I ask this question as who won recent cricket World Cup, so what it did is it browsed the web, okay, and it is generating the response. If you have observed earlier, when I asked the question as what is generative AI, it just generated the output from whatever the memory that it had. But now, when I ask the question, let's say, who won the recent cricket World Cup, it performed the web search. Now, what does it actually represent? It actually reinforces about what we have talked about it earlier. So the way this generative AI has been built is it has been built based on the training data. It has been built based on the training data. So we have performed the training on a very large data set. Now, once we have performed the training on this very large data set, so whenever we try to ask the question to our model, let's say, what is generative AI? So since that is part of the memory, so it went ahead and generated the response for us. Okay, based on what it has learned, it was able to generate the response for me. Now, when I asked one more question that said as who won the recent cricket World Cup? Now, because that information was not available in that training data set, so since ChatGPT is an application which has been built on top of this large language model, so they have built the additional capability which will search the web and generated the response for us. So let me remind you this ability of searching, okay? This ability of searching the web and generating the response is part of the ChatGPT application. It's not part of our large language model or the GPT model that we have got. The GPT model or this generative AI model that we have, it can take the input, which is a prompt, and generate the response. Okay, so these are the key learnings that we had about this generative AI and basics of it. Okay, team. So let's have a quick check-in. So is the pace is okay? Are you able to follow along with me so far, guys? So we have just learned one of the important topic, basics of it, that is generative AI and the prompt. So if you're clear so far, please confirm by typing in as all good in the chat window. Okay, thank you, Mew. Thank you, Davis. Thank you, Faizan. Thank you, Sumita. Great. Okay. So thank you, team, for confirming. Now, based on the learning that we just had, so let's have a quick knowledge check. So first question. So what is the most accurate definition of this generative AI? So go through this option and let me know what is the correct answer. Option A, AI that can understand and respond to human language. AI that can analyze the large data set and extract insights. AI that can create original content like text, images, or music. AI that can make decision based on predefined rules. So what do you think is the right answer when we talk about generative AI? So there's only one right answer for this. So if you have to choose one, which one would you choose, team? Okay, Mew, Davis, Chandrasekhar, Sumita, Ravi. How about others? What do you think? Yes, that's correct. As most of you have answered, the correct answer is C. It's the AI is a system which can generate the original content like text, images, or music. Now the next one. Okay, so what is prompt in the context of prompt engineering? So what is prompt, guys? It's a command to start the AI model, a set of instruction or input that guides the AI's output. It's a way to measure the AI's performance. Option D, technique for training the AI model. Okay, so I see most of the answers right here as B. Okay, that's correct, folks. Perfect. The correct answer is B. It's a set of instruction or the input that guides the AI's output. Now, why did we learn this basics of generative AI? The reason that we have learned this because, as I described at the start of this section, we are going to focus on one of the unit that we have got, which is an easy to score unit that's called as a trustworthy AI. Okay, so the trustworthy AI is the concept or the uh, unit that we are going to touch right now from the examination standpoint. So folks, so can we proceed? So if yes, please confirm yes in the chat window. So we'll get started with this new unit from our examination standpoint, that is trustworthy AI. Okay, Chandrasekhar, David, Sumita. So excellent, guys. So thank you so much for being so interactive. So I require your support going further as well, so that I'll do my best to give you a best learning experience and the best way that we can help you in your certification journey. So as always, feel free to share your feedback, or if you've got any question, let me know in the chat window. I'm open to feedback. All right. So let's begin with this concept of trustworthy AI. So when we talk about this trustworthy AI, so far you have experienced the generative AI. So far you have now experienced this generative AI. You have fully seen what this generative AI can do. Like, we can provide input on anything. Like, even if you look into the example that I just did, so I asked one thing about, let's say, science, like data science. That is, I've asked it to explain what is generative AI. On the other hand, I've asked it about explain generative AI on the specific topic, and then I was able to ask something related to cricket. So this chat GPT, or this large language model, it has got a lot of capability. Means when these large language models are so powerful, which is able to answer most of the queries that we have got, what it means most number of people will be start using it. Now most people will start using it, and because of that, it starts becoming an integral to the decision making in various sector. Like, even we are seeing some of the products are coming up with built-in large language models. So whether it is Apple or any other devices, so like they'll provide, like when you they'll provide the built-in access to such, like generative AI itself. That means when these systems are becoming so powerful, so it starts becoming one of the integral component when it comes to decision making in various sectors. It can be as simple as when you have a bad experience with, let's say, when you ordered a food from a website like a Swiggy, or food delivery partner like a Food Panda or Uber Eats. So if you have got a bad food experience, and when you try to reach out to the chatbot, now if that company starts using the chatbot which is powered by LLM, then that chatbot is the one which is going to decide whether you will get a refund or not. That's the level of impact that we would have in our day-to-day life. Now, that's an example in food delivery. The same thing can happen in travel, and the same thing can happen in various sectors that we are currently using it right now. Now, when these models are actually prepared, it brings to the first question: how these models are prepared? These models are prepared based on the training data that we have sent. Now, think of it in this way. Let's say you have prepared the training data, and in this training data, maybe you have collected the training data from, let's say, from an history data. Okay, like maybe an historic data that you have collected. Maybe it has got the information about how the civilization is, or how the people are living, and you have got that information 10 years back. Maybe, I'm just giving an example. Okay, it might not be a true. Maybe 10 years back, one of the ethnicity people might be associated with a certain profession. Okay, or one of the group of people might be associated with certain profession 10 years back. Now, when you feed such information to the large language model as part of the training data, now when you're generating the output from such model, that model will have its own bias, saying that if a person belongs to this ethnicity, this is what his features will be, or this is what his profession will be, this is how his knowledge level will be. Now, that's going to affect that's going to affect a lot for the customer, as well as it will have a significant consequences as the end users. Now, this is called as bias. So when the training data that we are preparing, if it is historic or when it is not prepared correctly, it can lead to potential for harm, which can result in bias, errors, or even misuse of AI can happen, and which can lead to significant consequences. Hence, whenever we build a system which is powered by generative AI, it's very important that we have or we practice the trustworthy AI, because this is important for people to trust this artificial intelligence so that we can adapt it and we can have a wide societal acceptance. And that is one of the reasons the trustworthy AI is important. So when we talk about building an AI which is trustworthy, there are four pillars of this trustworthy AI. Call it as fairness, transparency, accountability, robustness, and privacy. Okay, so these are five pillars. These are the five pillars of this trustworthy AI. Now, what is fairness? Now, whenever we are building any AI system, it should avoid bias. It should avoid discrimination based on sensitive attributes like race, gender, or age. And the key thing, or one of the key pillar of this trustworthy AI is transparency. It's okay, the users might not be able to understand completely, but a trustworthy AI means at least at a very high level, the user should be able to understand how this AI system is actually generating a certain decision. That's very important that you need to know. And another key thing is accountability. There should be clear responsibility for the action and the outcomes of such AI system. And more importantly, robustness. So these AI system should be reliable, it should be resistant to errors, and it should be secure against the attacks. And lastly, the privacy. The AI protect the user data and respect the individual privacy rights. So we call these five things are the key pillars of building the trustworthy AI. So let's have a look at it one by one, starting with the fairness in AI. So we say fairness in AI, we have understood that the AI should be free from bias. To ensure that we incorporate the fairness in AI, some of the common practices that we follow are will identify and mitigate the bias. That means whenever we are preparing the data set for training our model, in such scenario, we always analyze such training data, and we'll also look into the model outputs as well. When we send in some of the test data, we'll try to understand, are we seeing any pattern in the model output as well? Even though it might not be part of our training data set, maybe it has learned during the training. So we want to analyze the model output as well. And more importantly, we also need to have a feedback loop. Now, if we feel like when we build a generative AI application, it can be used by our employees as well as the end customers. There should be a way to specify the feedback that will be able to incorporate it and analyze the feedback and build a system which is fair to you. Now, under this fairness, diverse teams. It's very important that whenever you are building any AI system, so it should include diverse perspective. Now, this can be done by utilizing as much amount of diverseness that we have got in the training data set. Okay, that is what it means by diverse teams. And lastly, fairness audit. It's very important that we regularly assess these AI system for fairness and adjust it as required. This takes care of the fairness in AI system. Then we have something called as transparency. So when we talk about transparency, one of the important term that we will generally come across, it's called as XAI, which is also known as explainable AI. It's very important that we develop the methods for explaining the AI decision in an understandable term as much as possible. depending on the experimentation that has been conducted. It's very important that we create such document which describes about the system design, the data resources, and the limitation, and how these AI decisions are being made that will enable the transparency in the AI system. And the design of such interfaces enable the users to understand and interact with the AI system in a much user-friendly manner. The key thing from the examination is the term of this XAI, which is nothing but the explainable AI. This is one of the common terms that you will see in some of the questions, especially on this topic of this trustworthy AI. Then we have something called as accountability. So accountability means who should be responsible, who is accountable, who is responsible for the AI system's action and the outcome. It's very important that we establish this whenever we are building an AI system. And it's also important that we assess the potential risk and the benefits of AI system before we actually deploy it. And lastly, the redressal mechanism. There should be a proper way or proper channel for the users to report issues or seek remedies whenever an AI causes any harm. So this comes under the accountability aspect. Then the robustness. Now, when we say robustness in AI, so robustness involves testing the AI system in various ways so that in all the condition, the AI is working or this artificial intelligence system or generative AI system is working as per our requirement. And by conducting such thorough testing, we will be able to identify the vulnerabilities that we have in the system and we can address it during the testing itself. This will ensure that the AI product that we are going to deploy, so that will be robust and it will not be affected by the vulnerabilities or it will not be affected by the hackers or other groups. And more importantly, yes, the second one comes over here, protect the AI system from cyber attacks and unauthorized access. So this comes under this security measure. And lastly, it's always important that we monitor the AI performance in real world settings and update as required. Here, we can make use of various continuous monitoring tools that we have got in the market. So it's not part of the curriculum, but I just want to share you some details. There are various AI observability platform. Like to name a few, I think Y Labs is a well-known platform. You can use that Y Labs in your production environment and monitor such large language models. And the next one is a privacy in AI. To collect only the necessary data and make anonymize or perform the anonymization or pseudonymize it wherever it is possible. And here in this case, since the data is the one that is going to power this large language models, it's also important that you implement robust security measure so that you can protect the user data. And whenever any user data is being used, there's a proper consent from the users for data collection and the data usage. These are the key pillars of building a trustworthy AI. Recap, we talk about the pillars of AI. It involves fairness, transparency, accountability, robustness, and privacy. So these are the key terms that you need to remember whenever we are thinking about building a trustworthy AI. You can expect the questions related to the definition or what does it mean, or just a general ideology base. So if we are thinking about building a trustworthy AI, ensures that we have got the fairness. So the concepts that we have seen in the fairness in AI. So if you have gone through it, so it will be easier for you to answer those questions. Okay, so this is about the trustworthy AI. Now, the next topic that we have got is how we can minimize the bias in AI system. Now, before we continuing further, so we have reached a 1 hour point, guys. So we'll take a short break. Now, before we go for a short break, so I'll, I'll take a pause here. So folks, do you have any questions or any queries from the topics that we have covered so far? So if you're clear, please confirm by typing in as all good. Or if you have got any question, So please let me know in the chat window. So I see a question right here. So one question is how we can prevent the user from entering the personal data. So here, there's no way which is built in into the LLM. So some of the common practice that we would use it in the production environment is we are going to write our own custom logic. Now, this custom logic, depending on the scenario, it can be based on maybe regular expression, or we can just go ahead and make use of another very small model, like language model, to check whether we have any personal information and make use of the named entity recognition over there. And using the named entity recognizer, we can write a custom rule that says, please do not enter the personal information. So that is the way that we can handle it. Okay, it is something that we have to build the custom logic. Okay, thank you, Mew. Thank you, Davis. Thank you, Chandrasekhar. Thank you, Faizan. Thank you, Sumita. Okay, perfect, guys. So let's do one thing. So let's meet after 7 minutes, and then we'll continue with our discussion and we'll understand one of the key topic in preparation, that is how we can minimize the bias in AI system. Okay, team. So let's do one thing before we proceed ahead with this new topic of how to minimize bias in the AI system. So I see all the learners have joined. So I'll just share a few things, guys. Okay, let me just share the WhatsApp group link, which I've got from the admin team. Give me a second. For those of you who have not joined, so please go ahead and join the same. Okay, team. So I've shared you the WhatsApp link, a WhatsApp group link. Please go ahead and join the same in case if if you have not been able to join so far. Okay, and I'll also share the details about the cohort manager who will be your single point of contact for all the questions related to your queries, access, or anything. So he'll be your first point of contact in accessing in the portal. So let me just share the details as well. It might have you might have already seen in the welcome email, but just for the reference, I'm sharing it again, folks. So yeah. So I'm just copy pasting the message that was there in that email. So his name is Sridhar. Okay, you can reach out to him on the number that I have mentioned in the chat window. So that's his phone number. You can reach out to him directly over the WhatsApp. He can assist with the queries for any of the queries that you might have. Okay, so just a quick one confirmation, folks. So have you joined the WhatsApp group? Just quick confirmation. Please confirm by typing in as yes if you have joined. Great. Perfect. Okay. And let me tell you guys, even I'm also there in that WhatsApp group. In case if you have got any question, you can also, I'll ping you I'll just send hi over there so that you'll know my phone number over there. You can also like text me in the WhatsApp too. Okay. I'll be reachable. You can expect a delay in case if I'm at work or working on other things, but I'll do my best to respond to you folks. Okay. Next thing that I want to ensure is the LMS access. Okay, let me just share you some quick details as how you can access the session's recording and how you can join the live session. Okay, so first thing is the portal for accessing the live session is the website live.manifoldailearning.in. So once you go to this page, this is how the homepage would look like currently. So I'm sharing the link. So here, go ahead and sign in with your email, like with the email address that you have used it for signing in. Okay, I'll just use one of the example account. I'll just log in and show you. So one of the key thing is if you're signing up for the first time or if you have received the email, the password is password only. Okay, like just everything in small case, it is password. Okay, just for the example, that would be the default password. Ensure that you change it once you log in. Okay, if you're logging in for the first time. Now, once you have logged in, you'll be able to see something like this. Here it says your name and it will give you the message which says as welcome to Manifold AI Learning. And you can check your courses under the My Enrollment. Okay, if you have registered for more than one cohort, you'll be able to access it. If you click on My Enrollments, you'll be able to see the courses that you have the access to. The current course that you're in is the cohort 3 NVIDIA Generative AI LLMs. you can click on that course so that you can access the complete session details as well as the contents that you want to access. Okay, so here, like you can get the live access link over here from this portal itself. If you click on this join now, so this is going to join over here. Okay, this is going to join the live session, like the live session that we are in. So you can access the live session directly from the portal. Now, once the session is completed, so within 24 hours, okay, so I'll say not 24 hours, within 3 to 4 hours, the session's recording will be processed and it will be updated automatically. So first it will download, first we will wait for Zoom to process, and then some encoding would happen before it appears to you. So normally it will take 3 to 4 hours. So it will be automatically updated in your portal. And few things that I want to highlight, you will have a lifetime access to the sessions recording, including the quizzes that we'll be creating, the assignments, like even the code. So every resource that is provided in the learning journey, you will have a lifetime access. And you'll also have the access to the course slides as well. Yeah, that's correct, Faizan. You'll have the access to the course slides, which you can use it for your examination preparation or learning. Okay. Now, I just need a quick confirmation, folks. Is everyone is able to log into this live.manifoldalearning.in? Can you please confirm? So if you have got any questions, yeah, like issues, please let me know. I'll put in a word with the support team or with your email ID so that they can resolve it at the earliest. Because most of you might should be already having the access, but if you still have the issues, please don't hesitate to let me know. Or you can also reach out to Sridhar directly. Okay, thank you, Sumita, Mio, Faizan, Ravi, Chandrasekhar, Davis. Okay, perfect. Thank you, team, for confirmation. So now that the basics are clear, how you can access the learning resources. So let's come back to our lesson that we have got. Okay, so the next topic that we have got is how can we minimize the bias in AI system? And this is also one of the key topic that is mentioned in the NVIDIA study guide as well. So let's have a look into the ways in which that we can minimize the biasness in the AI system. Now, here we have already learned about what is bias and how it will impact the trustworthiness of an AI system. So it's important that we minimize the bias as much as possible. So in order to minimize the bias, so always have the diverse and the representative data collection. So ensure that you collect the data that represents all the relevant subgroups so that this can avoid the underrepresentation of any. Now, as I mentioned, we will also have to consider some of the other aspects as well when we are having the diverse representation. That data that we have got right now, it should be in sync with the societal norms that we have got. Okay, that's one of the key things that you need to remember, especially when you're using the historical data. Ensure that you consider these aspects as well when you're, even though when you're considering the diversity, because we want the AI or the generative AI application to be valid for the current society, not in the 10 years ago. Okay, that's one key thing. Okay, next is the balanced data. So ensure that you balance the data set to avoid the overrepresentation of certain group. Now, this can skew the model's outcome. So this is very much similar to the example that I gave at the start. If you have any underrepresentations of certain groups in a given data set, then some group will have an advantage when it is being implemented. They will have a favorable outcome compared to the other group. So in order to avoid it, to ensure that we have a balanced data. Next, pre-processing the data set. So biasness can occur when we have an incorrect data or the data which has got lot of, I'll say, like a lot of incorrect values. Okay, especially when we have an incorrect value, even such incorrect value can also introduce the biasness in the large language model. So ensure that that you take care of the data cleaning activity. So we'll also revisit in future as well about the data cleaning. But the key intention is we'll perform the cleaning so that we can remove or correct the biased data entries. And the another key step in data pre-processing data is anonymization. It's very important that we take the necessary step during the data preparation itself to remove the sensitive attributes which are not essential for the model so that we can prevent them from influencing the outcome. Then bias detection and mitigation technique. So here, in order to detect the biases, so one of the commonly used statistical tests is disparate impact analysis. So you can remember this term that's called as disparate impact analysis. So it is recommended that you use the statistical test to detect such biases in the data as well as in the model output. And we'll have to come up with a fairness metric. So we have to implement the fairness metrics like demographic parity, equal opportunity, and disparate impact in order to assess and mitigate the bias. So these are the things that we ensure that we'll be able to measure the fairness and the data that we have got is well represented. And whenever we are applying the algorithm, okay, wherever possible, okay, it's important that we ensure the fair treatment to the different group. Like this can be like this not specific to the large language model, but you can think about from the machine learning or a general standpoint. So some of the algorithms, okay, so we'll discuss more about machine learning, but if I want to highlight right now, some of the algorithms has the ability to accept the class representation that we have got in the data set. Now, whenever possible, if it is available, it is important that we specify those details in that algorithm so that we'll be having the fair treatment of various groups and reweightage. So it is recommended that we adjust the weights of different samples so that we can balance the influence of various groups during the model training. So even this is also part of our, I'll say, parameters of our machine learning model. The other ways we can minimize the bias is model training. So by introducing the regularization techniques or by applying the adversarial training. So regularization technique is we use it when we want to prevent the overfit to bias data patterns. So overfit is a scenario where the model learns, like the model will memorize the data set instead of learning the pattern behind it. Now, if the model learns the data set itself, this can lead to biasness. And if the data set also has a bias, then that's one more challenge because first of all, the model is memorizing. And if the data is biased, then this will lead to further problems whenever the model is generating the output. Hence, regularization is actually recommended. Okay, regularization means we have various techniques like we have L1, L2, L1, L2, and like that we have various regularizations. It is important that we apply such techniques. So for now, remember that using this regularization technique, it can help us to avoid the overfitting. That is modelless learning too much about our training data. And another technique is adversarial training. So in order to promote the robustness and the fairness, it is recommended to train the model with adversarial technique. Adversarial technique is uh, train train it such a way that you will have one more agent which is going to achieve the opposite of what my model is actually like trying to do. So that's called as a adversarial training. It's like the opposite. So that like if the model is trying to succeed, they are going to send one more technique. It can be a model which is training in together. Now that intention of the other model is to make the other one fail. Okay, so that it will work in competition and we'll be able to get the overall better outcome. So that's called as an adversarial training. Now, once the model has been trained, it's also important that we need to perform the post processing. Like, for example, once we have processed the data, whatever the output that is being generated. So if we have any biases, we should correct such identified biases. And if we observe that the data that we have got is underrepresented by looking at the model output. So we should be able to take the action so that we'll be able to have an equitable and a fair representation of the data across different groups. Okay, so this is about the post processing. Now, moving on, apart from that, it doesn't end there. So we'll also have to take care of the ongoing monitoring and the evaluation, because it doesn't stop just because our model is in production environment and it is getting the input from the user. So we have to perform the continuous monitoring. We'll have to regularly monitor the model's performance in terms of complexity, how much time it is taking, and how the responses of the model are. And it is also important that we also monitor the inputs to the model. Excuse me. So we also consider the inputs to the model as well. So that will help us to understand what kind of inputs are we getting it for the model, so that if we observe that the model is not responding correctly for one of the input, we can use it as part of our training data set in future and improve the further training. And the other aspect is the feedback. It is important that we implement a feedback mechanism so that if a new data is identified or if a new data is comes in, we'll be continuously improving the model. Lastly, one of the key thing is the transparency and accountability. So it's part of the trustworthy AI as well. So it's explainability. So wherever possible, it is recommended that we use the explainable AI technique so that we can understand how the model makes a decision and identify the potential biases. At audit trial, it's important and it's recommended that you maintain the audit trial for model decision and the changes so that you can track the bias issues and you can actually address them. So to summarize on this topic of trustworthy AI, so trustworthy AI is essential for responsible and ethical AI development. The pillars are fairness, transparency, accountability, robustness, and privacy. They are actually crucial. And building such trustworthy AI, okay, building such trustworthy AI, it's not a single time activity. It's a continuous effort or continuous process, which requires the continuous effort and constant improvement. So that's the key summary of this trustworthy AI. Now, even though we have covered it from the topic wise, there's one missing aspect of it. That is, how does NVIDIA services will help in building such trustworthy AI? So this topic or this section is very important, guys. So you'll, in most of the sections in your NVIDIA examination, there are mostly two kinds of categories, I'll call it. So first category is general understanding of AI and the machine learning system and the large language models. And second category, which is an easy scoring category, which is how NVIDIA services are helping us to achieve such like requirement. Now, in this case, how NVIDIA services are helping us in building the trustworthy AI. So this is one of the important section. So let's have a look into the key NVIDIA services that we have got for building this trustworthy AI. Okay, so first thing that we have got is NVIDIA AI Enterprise. So when we say NVIDIA AI Enterprise, NVIDIA AI Enterprise is a comprehensive suite of AI and data analytics software, and this is optimized for the NVIDIA EGX platform. And this will actually provide the tools and frameworks which is required to build, deploy, and manage the AI application across the various industries. Okay. And this is the idea about this NVIDIA Enterprise. So you need to know from the examination, whenever I show you these services, you need to know what it would mean and what is the special feature of it. It's a comprehensive suite of AI and data analytics software. And this is optimized for which platform? NVIDIA EGX platform. Just a very high level. Like you should be able to recognize it. You don't have to memorize it. You should be able to recognize it because it's like the recognition from the four option. You should be able to recognize it. So that's the level you should be preparing, guys. The other service that we have got is NVIDIA Clara. So this is a healthcare specific AI and healthcare like HPC application framework, we call it. So like if you're dealing with an healthcare, then then you can actually refer to this NVIDIA Clara. So this offers the tools for building the secure and reliable AI models for medical imaging, genomics, and smart hospitals. And there's something called as NVIDIA Metropolis. So NVIDIA Metropolis is an intelligent video analytics platform, and this supports the development of AI application for public safety, traffic management, city services, while ensuring the data privacy and security. Apart from that, we have NVIDIA Drive. It's a autonomous vehicle platform which includes the hardware and software solution for developing the self-driving car. So this actually emphasizes on safety, reliability, and real-time processing in order to ensure the trustworthy autonomous driving system. And we have NVIDIA Jarvis. So it's a framework for building and deploying the conversational AI application. And now this ensures that the AI-driven interactions that would happen with Jarvis are secure, reliable, and accurate. So these are all the key services that we have got for building the trustworthy AI from NVIDIA. Now, apart from these, we also have various tools and framework as well. Some of the important tools under this trustworthy AI is NVIDIA Triton Inference Server. Now, this is one of the important tools or a framework, I'll say, because you will see me talking about it in various units and describing its various application. Like this Triton server is going to simplify the deployment of AI models at scale. So the best part is it supports various framework. This provides a consistent production environment that will always ensure that the model performs in a reliable manner. Remember, reliability is one of the key aspects of trustworthy AI. And we have NVIDIA Tensor RT. So this is a deep learning inference optimizer and a runtime library. So this ensures the high performance and low latency for AI model, which is critical for real-time application. Okay, it's a high performance and low latency. This will always ensure it. So it's a runtime library. That's something that you need to remember. And there's something called as NVIDIA NGC. The NVIDIA NGC is a hub for GPU optimized AI software. This will include the pre-trained model, model script, and industry specific AI solution. So this NVIDIA NGC facilitates the development and deployment of AI application with built-in security and performance optimization. So these are all the key things, aspects under this tools and framework. If you take a look into the security measure, so NVIDIA GPUs and hardware solution, this is just a very high level. So for completion, I've added it. So some of the general things that is followed in the NVIDIA GPUs and hardware solutions are encryption, secure boot, and hardware-based isolation. And coming to the data privacy, so NVIDIA ensures that the AI solutions comply with data privacy regulation like GDPR and CCPA, and it provides the various tools for anonymizing and securing the sensitive data, which is used in AI training and inference. All right, so we have completed some of the key learnings which are relevant for this trustworthy AI, which covers 10% of the weightage of the examination. Now, this doesn't end here. There are some important resources that I have shared. Now, based on this, there's also an assignment as well. First, let's take a look into this key resources. There are key important resources which are very much essential for you to know, just to know at a very high level from the examination standpoint. Now, let me just take you through one by one. First one is the technical blog. So NVIDIA has published various blogs. And since we are in the trustworthy AI, these are all the blogs under this topic of trustworthy AI. It's worth going through each of these blogs at a very high level. Like for example, here it says advancing the production AI with NVIDIA AI Enterprise. So I've just talked about the NVIDIA Enterprise over there in the earlier slide, and you can see there's a blog that is written which has been published this year. So the expectation is go through it and try to build some more perspective about what exactly is this AI enterprise and how it is actually helping us. Okay, even they have also talked about the Triton server. They have explained how exactly it can be used. You don't have to go inside the technical details, but having a high level understanding will be very much helpful for you in answering these easy questions. So I'll call these questions as the easy type questions. Then, okay, so check out these blogs. Then I've also mentioned few blogs as well. So one blog that I've recommended is securing the LLM system against the prompt injection. So prompt injection is actually one of the new attack technique, or one of the attack technique which is specific to the large language model. So using this prompt injection, this will enable the attackers to manipulate how the output of my LLM will be. You know already the importance of prompt. The prompt is the one which is going to uh, decide how my output of my LLM will be, right? So this prompt injection will enable such attackers to manipulate the output of that LLM. So you have, like, just go through this blog now that you have understood this important term. So they have just given some more details about the same. Okay, just go through it at a very high level, and that will help you to answer some of the questions in the examination. Because it's a wide variety of questions that they will have. It's very difficult to predict which learner will get what. So it's important that you prepare it in a way that you cover all the topics in an efficient manner. So this is important. And NGC catalog. I've already talked about the NGC catalog in our slide. So this over here, I think this is the same blog that I've talked about, I guess, or it's a different one. Okay. Build AI, enterprise grade AI with NVIDIA AI software. They've just talked about how you can make, what is this NGC catalog? Okay. So this, as I've described earlier, it helps the companies in accelerating their AI development. It has a lot of predefined solutions. So it provides the containers. So it has got a lot of features which explain in depth about what I've mentioned in the slide. Okay, this is about the, yeah, this is about the NGC catalog. And once you have went through it, if you want to recap and recollect of what we have discussed so far at a very high level, I highly recommend you to check out their Trustworthy AI page from NVIDIA. So whatever the slides that I have created, so I can say that it's inspired and getting the content specifically from this NVIDIA site. So if you take a look at this site, and you'll also be able to uh, link what we have discussed in the class with what is trustworthy AI according to the NVIDIA. Okay, they clearly define what is trustworthy AI. AI should respect privacy, data protection regulation, operate in a safe and secure way. It should be transparent, accountability, avoiding the bias. So the 5 pillars that I've talked about, the same is covered over here in this NVIDIA page. So by going through this page at a very high level, you don't have to memorize anything, just going through it at a very high level, that is more than enough. And more importantly, okay, there's one more, that is what is explainable AI. So yeah, this is also one more important one. So if you remember, I think one of the key pillar is explainability of AI, which is called as XAI. So there's a blog which discusses about this XAI. Okay, so please go through this to get some more perspective about what is explainability AI or explainable AI. Okay, these are the key resources that I've got. Now, based on these key resources and the slide topics, there's a first assignment for you. So, folks, the first assignment for you is, so each learner is expected to list down 15 important points from this trustworthy AI and share it with your co-learners in our WhatsApp group. Here, remember guys, the reason that we have kept this, because when you share 15, so if each and every learner in the batch is sharing the 15, you can count how many number of points. I'm sure there will be some repetition, but the key thing is you will be able to go through, even if there is a repetition, you'll be able to revise. And more importantly, you will be learning from each other. So that's the importance of community. When you as a learner are learning together, you'll be progressing together. And remember, guys, okay, generosity always fuels positivity. So always focus on contributing your unique insights. That means don't copy. Okay. So please come up with your own. It's fine if you guys have between each other, like most of you can have a same thought when you're listing down the important points, when you're going through these key resources, but avoid copying. Okay. So generosity fuels positivity. So like we say it as focus on contributing your unique insights rather than solely consuming the ideas from others. All right. So I hope everyone are clear with the assignment one. So, so folks, if you're clear with assignment one and if you're going to submit in 2 days, so please confirm by typing as yes in the chat window to confirm that you're submitting in 2 days. Okay, thank you, Davis, Faizan. So I need commitment from each of you guys. Thank you, Ravi. Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, guys, for your confirmation. So yes, so please submit and share it with each other. And in case when you're getting stuck or when you're learning, if you're having any questions, please don't hesitate to post your questions in the WhatsApp group or reach out to me. I'll do my best to answer the questions that you might have. Okay. Now, by covering these topic, so I'm 100% confident that you'll be able to answer any of the questions from this trustworthy AI topic, right? So what's the next learning journey that we have got? So the next concept that we have right now is, let's do one thing. Let's take a look into our study guide. So we have captured this 10%. Now let's do one thing. Let's pick up the next topic, which is called as the data analysis. Okay. So here under this data analysis, so this is more to do with building the intuition and understanding the same. So here, when I'm explaining this, I'll be making use of the graph. I'll be making use of some code as well in our future session. But let me remind you, the coding is not mandatory for the examination. So I'll be using the coding to just to show you the visualization. Okay, so using that visualization and also show you the importance of such visualization as we progress in the learning journey. So the next topic that we'll be covering is the data analysis. So we'll be covering this data analysis in detail in the next session. For now, let's have an introduction to this data analysis, and we'll start with a very basic concept about what is data and what are the types of data. Okay, that's how we'll be proceeding. Okay, so let's proceed ahead, team. Okay, so here we'll start with the basics of data. So first of all, let's try to understand what is data. So when we say data, so I'll just say, I can say data as a collection of facts. Okay, a collection of facts is what we call it as a data. Okay, which doesn't have any meaning to the data. Like for example, I can collect the temperature for last 10 days, and this last 10 days data, last 10 days temperature is what I can call it as actually as a data. So that's what we call it as a data. It's just a collection of facts. Okay. Now, when we say information, information is nothing but when we perform the analysis on the data set. If I perform the analysis on the data, that's when we call it as an information is actually obtained. Okay. Now, if I have, let's say, last 10 days temperature, if I go ahead and let's say perform the analysis, maybe I'll simply take an average of last 10 days temperature. Now, what that average value is going to tell me, that average value will now tell me the information about the 10 days weather, that is the 10 days temperature. So whenever I do the analysis on that data, we call it as an information is received from that data. Okay, that's the basic idea about this data and the information. Now, the way that we perform the analysis or the way that we derive the information is dependent on the type of data that we have got. So let's start with basics of data from the perspective of statistics. So when I say types of data, there are two types of data. One is numerical data, and we also have something called as categorical data. So this is what we can actually classify the data as. Like I can classify it as a numerical data, and the other one is called as a categorical data. So under this numerical data, we can actually further categorize it into discrete data, okay? And the other one, we call it as the continuous data. Under the categorical data, we can call it as the ordinal data, okay? And the other one, let me just let me just confirm you guys. Okay, it's ordinal data and nominal data. Okay, it's ordinal data and the nominal data. So this is how we categorize the data. Now, why this understanding of this categorization is important? Well, depending on type of data, the analysis and the plot that we create is going to vary. Okay, hence it is important that we understand how we can identify such data. So let's start with the categorical data. So under this categorical data, we have ordinal and the nominal data. Now, when we talk about this ordinal data, so first of all, let's define what is categorical data. Categorical data is a non-numeric data. So the non-numeric data is what we call it as a categorical data. Now, to give you an example, let's say favorite color, nationality, gender. Okay. So all these are the examples of the categorical data. Now, under this categorical data, we have ordinal and nominal. So what is an ordinal data? It's a type of data where it follows the sequence or it follows the order. Like for example, okay, let me just give you a very simple illustration. Okay, when we talk about this ordinal data, let's say I've got a column which describes about the review, okay, the review values that I've got in a given data set. So let us suppose this is a column in my data set which talks about review. The possible values that we have got are excellent, good, bad, average, good, excellent. So like this, a column of my data set has got these kind of values. Now, if you observe closely, I can now safely say that this review belongs to the categorical data. That's for sure because it's non-numeric in nature. Now, if you observe closely, the way we interpret these values in this column of this categorical data is very different. Like for example, we will interpret the excellent as the one which has got a very highest score. And I can say bad is the one which has got very lowest score. Like for example, I'll say bad as 1, average as 2, good as 3, maybe excellent as 4. So this is how I actually treat, or if I want to assign a numerical value to it, this is how I'll be ordering the values that we have got. So we can call this kind of data wherever there is an ordering that is involved, even though it's non-numerical in nature, we call it as the ordinal data. Okay, now we have another kind of data that's called as a nominal data. So we call a data as a nominal data if it is consisting of just labels. So when I say label, there is no ordering that is involved. Like I'll give you an example. Okay, there's one more column. Let's say it describes about favorite color of a person. Okay, then here the favorite color may be blue, black, red, violet, let's say black, pink. So like this, we have the collection of values that are present in this column, or it can be nationality, which describes the person's nationality, or it can be gender. So you can take any such example. In such example, like nowhere we are saying that red is greater than black or violet is greater than blue. Like all of them are having the equal importance. There's no specialty or there's no favoritism or there's no sequence when we think about favorite color or nationality. So when we have those kind of data where there is no ordering in the labels, we call that data as a nominal data. Okay, we call that data as a nominal data. Now, when we are dealing with such nominal data and the nominal data and the ordinal data, that is when we are dealing with categories, okay, in most of the key scenarios, one of the common way that we use it in order to convert the data is one-hot encoding. So this is one of the commonly used technique in order to transform such categorical data. We'll be learning about this one-hot encoding in a practical way in the next session. For now, remember that when we are working with the categorical data, we'll be using this one-hot encoding technique on features. Now, if I'm dealing with the ordinal data, and if I have such ordinal data in, let's say, the target column, then I'll be making use of a technique that's called as label encoder. Okay, it's a label encoder. So here, if I like, as I mentioned, we'll be showing you the demo in the next session. But if you take a look into this label encoder, it clearly specifies we use this on the target variables, that is y. Okay, so that means if I'm dealing with ordinal data, if it is part of output, then apply the label encoder. So these are the two transformation techniques that we'll be applying whenever we are working with the data set. Okay, so when you're dealing with ordinal data, you will be generally using the one-hot encoding on features. And if it is target, you'll be using the label encoder. For nominal data, where there is no ordering, you'll be performing the one-hot encoding on features only. Okay, this is how we will be transforming the data. So depending on type of the data, you will apply some techniques in the backend so that you'll be able to apply the machine learning models or the analysis in a better learning way, so better manner. So that's the reason that you are going to apply this technique on these type of data. Then here I have described about the discrete data and the continuous data under this numerical. Now, when I have a discrete values, okay, so like if I talk about discrete data, okay, so if I talk about the discrete data, so if the data that I have got, okay, if the data that I have got can take only a certain values, okay, if the data that we have got can take only a certain values, then we call it as a discrete data. Okay, in majority of scenarios, when we call the discrete data from the numerical standpoint, so key things that you need to remember is it has, okay, countable elements. Okay, it has countable and limited number of values. Okay, and can take only certain size or a certain values. Like to give you an example, I'll just say example as shoe size. So if you consider the shoe size as an example, okay, so it can have a countable number of shoe size. Like for example, maybe the shoe size can start with 2, and at the max maybe it can go till 15. Okay, so it can have such countable values. It can take only like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or maybe 6.5, 7.5, something like it's a some finite number. Okay, it's a limited number of value. Then in such scenario, we call that data as a discrete data. Or it can be as simple as how many times, how many items that you have got in a stock, or how many new clients have onboarded in the previous quarter. So here, in such scenario, okay, in such scenario, we'll be calling the data as a discrete data. We have another type of data, that's the continuous data. In the case of this continuous data, these are the values that can be measured. Okay, and it can have values from infinite range. Like to give you an example, a salary of a person. Like if you want to predict the, like if you want to like represent the salary of a person, so a salary can range between between, let's say, like the salary can have any value. Okay, it can have any value. Like for an easier way to remember it as any value that you would come across or any column that you would come across with decimal. Okay, I'll simply say number with decimal. So we can think of it as a continuous data, like the temperature, weight, or salary. years of experience. So like if we these are all some of the examples of the continuous data where the number with the decimal point is called as a continuous data. Okay. Now, when we are dealing with such data, so if I'm dealing with the discrete values with limited number of categories, here in this case, in most of the scenarios, we will be applying the one hot encoding. If I do not want to consider the numerical values over there, like for example, if I have the shoe size as an example, if I have a column which contains the information about the shoe size, and if I want to read each and every shoe size with the same weightage, that's when I'll be making use of this one hot encoding. Now, maybe in some cases, I just want to keep the values as it is. Then in such scenario, we'll not do the transformation. We'll use the one hot encoding to assign same weightage, okay, to assign the same weightage for all the discrete values. And when we are dealing with the continuous data, here we make use of two types of transformer, like two data transformer. One is called as standard scalar, and the other one is called as min-max scalar. So these are the two types of data pre-processing that we'll be using in order to modify the data set. So this is the basics about the types of data and what are the ways in which we categorize this data set and how we can actually perform the transformation on this given data set depending on the type of data. So what we have learned today is the basics about this data, which is essential for our data analysis. In the next session, we'll continue further. We'll try to understand more about this, understanding the data standpoint and how we can analyze such data. We'll also talk about the types of plot. Okay. And we'll also understand, okay, I've just defined the definition about what is encode, one hot encoding and label encoder. So I'll try to simplify it and help you understand the intuition behind these techniques. And we'll continue further in the next session. So that would be the agenda in the coming session. Okay. Now I've got an activity for you guys. So each day I'll be sharing the activity. Okay. So I would request a volunteer to explain the learnings from a specific page. So each day we'll pick up one of the page from NVIDIA site. So you can just prepare notes or you can list down the point. And each day anyone can volunteer to choose one of the like page. So like one page that I'm recommending is the NVIDIA AI platform. So I want a volunteer for tomorrow who will take up this activity, just go through it and explain, summarize it. What are the key things that they have learned and what is it that is mentioned in this page? Okay, so this will be a good learning experience for the person who is presenting as well as the people in the group. So that's the activity that we'll be doing it. So I see Faizan. Faizan has said that he'll take it up. That's amazing, Faizan. So yes, I'll share the link over here right now in the chat window, and I'll also send the same, like share the same link in the group as well. Please, like there's no mandate that you have to create presentation. You can just simply create Word document and list down the points, like whichever the way that you would prefer, you can do it, guys. So prepare it in a way so that you can share it. Like my recommendation is you can just create a text document or Word document, create it, and once you have presented your learning, just share it in our WhatsApp group so that it will be a resource for others as well. Okay, so with this, we come to the end of today's session, guys. Now, folks, yeah, so I just want to have a quick check-in with you. Were you able to follow along with me so far in this session from start to end? Or is there any improvement that you would feel like that you want me to do? So because since it's a live boot camp, I want to ensure that you get the maximum out of it. So if you're clear, if everything is going good, so please confirm by typing in as all good. If you feel like something needs to be improved, so please let me know as well. So I want to ensure that you get the best out of this. Okay. So folks, thank you so much again, guys. I hope you're understanding the difference between the self-paced and the live training. So if you have any suggestion as well to ensure that we can improve further, to ensure your inclusion in this program, I'm open to suggestion. We'll ensure that we'll implement it. Okay. So Faizan says, suggest to have some real question. That's correct, Faizan. So we'll be having it as we progress in the learning journey. Since it's an introductory session, we didn't have it. Sure, we'll definitely include it in the next session. Okay, thank you, Davis. Thank you, Sumita. Okay, thank you so much again, everyone. Okay, I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, I thought I had introduced, some of you might have attended the orientation session, so hence I didn't go for the introduction. Okay, so let me just share about myself. My name is Nachiket Murthy. So I'll be your instructor throughout this overall boot camp. So like for the folks who have missed the orientation session, so I'll ask the team to upload the orientation session. So in the orientation session, we just went through some of the quick guidelines about the same and my introduction. So I've got more than 11 years of experience, and I'm working with one of the consulting firm, and I've got an opportunity to create multiple courses with Manifold AI Learning, which are the self-paced one. And I've trained more than 500,000 learners throughout the globe through the self-paced courses, and more than 50,000 learners through live bootcamp. So that's about me. So I'm glad that I got an opportunity with you guys to interact and share my learnings. So yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. So for the learners, let me share if you have not connected with me on LinkedIn. All right. So this is my LinkedIn ID. Feel free to connect with me, folks. So I look forward to seeing you on our next class. Okay. So take care, everyone. Thank you, Chandrasekhar. Okay. So folks, I'll be here in case if you've got any question, please feel free to let me know. Or in case if you want to speak, you can also, yeah, unmute yourself as well in case if you want to speak to me. Okay. Thank you, Chandrasekhar. Thank you, Faizan. Okay. Thanks a lot, team. Take care. So guys, you have watched till the end. So first of all, thank you for watching till the end. So if you like the way that we cover the topics and you want to learn with us on live, so do check out the live bootcamp. Or if you want to learn through these self-paced videos, do check out the self-paced videos as well. Okay. So I hope to see you next time. Take care.